All right, an attack on a western city in Ukraine, a little more than about 70 miles from where the president was, 48 miles from the Polish border. We've had mixed messages about exactly where this attack was or whether it was targeting civilians. The latest now from Jeff Paul, who's there. Jeff, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Neil, it was just about an hour ago. We started hearing the air raid sirens go off, heard some rumbling, and then eventually started to see this off into the distance where you could see these thick clouds of black smoke billowing into the air. And we're being told by our security team here on the ground that it's possible 2 jets flew overhead and were targeting what we believe to be a communication tower. Now, what makes this so significant is the location of where this is happening in the timing. You got to think about who right now is very close to Ukraine, and that's the President of the United States. And so this is certainly must be a message from the Kremlin, from President Putin, because, you know, most of these attacks have happened in the eastern portion of the country, into the south, in Mariupol. So when you have something like this happen and you look at the timing and the location of it, we're only 48 miles away from the Polish border, and a place like where we're at here in Lviv has remained relatively untouched. We've had air raid sirens over the last, few days or so, but it has been fairly quiet. And then you have something like this. This is somewhat major escalation compared to what has been going on over the past 2 or 3 weeks during this conflict, Neil.
You know, Jeff, it's interesting, too, because not that it's like a quid pro quo. The president says something damning about Vladimir Putin, and he does something like this. I'm not saying that it could be that down to the second, but the president did say earlier today that there is an increasing haphazard inhumanity to the attacks that Russians have launched on Ukrainians. He referred to the port city of Mariupol, of course, where there's been a great deal of damage and inflicted on just average men, women, and children. He's afraid that we're seeing another Aleppo, referring, of course, to Russia and Syrian forces killing so many in Syria during that civil war. That is how he has sized up the strategy of Vladimir Putin. And I'm wondering the consensus that was building, certainly in press reports today, about, Putin trying to shore up his base, so to speak, or shore up the areas that are under Russian control, that this is Putin's way of saying, I'm the one controlling this agenda, not you.
Yeah, I think you nail it on the head, Neil, because no one truly knows what's next. No one truly knows what this army is going to be told to do next, except for Vladimir Putin. And there's been a lot of talk over the last few days as this war sort of ground down to a halt, and both sides have really dug in that, Vladimir Putin's position and what he wants to do next is sort of changed, doesn't want anything to do with Kyiv. He's going to focus on building this land corridor. But then you see something like what's unfolding behind us, and I think it totally changes what could happen next, and no one really knows but Putin. And this is certainly a huge message. I mean, you look geographically on the map and you see just how far away we are from some of the areas that have been hit the hardest. This is extremely far west. You can't get much further west in Ukraine. So it certainly is some sort of message, and we really don't know what's going to happen next.
I'm curious too, Jeff. I mean, you're outside there and reporting bravely for us, but what do average folks do there? As you pointed out, they're not getting the same types of attacks that we see in Mariupol or even at the outskirts of Kyiv. So they're not used to this. What are they doing now in light of this latest development?
Well, I mean, Lviv has become sort of a safe haven for people who are trying to flee some of those towns like Kyiv and Mariupol. They were trying to come here to sort of get out of danger, and this has become a place where people can catch their breath, move on to somewhere else, or bunk with a friend until they can kind of get their bearings. And now you have something like this happen, and it just seems like we really don't know what could be targeted next. People still, though, continue on with their day with cautious optimism. As I just look off from the camera here, there's cars going by, there's people going about their daily life. But this will certainly get some attention and really give a sense that anything could happen, and, they're not invincible.
Yeah, reminders all. War is unpredictable. I talk about a cliche, but I committed to that. Jeff, thank you very much. Jeff Paul, following all that in Lviv, right now on the western side of the country.